So, hey, good morning world. A little bit after 9 o'clock, 9:13 a.m. Sunday, December 31st, 2017. That's the last time I get to say 2017. Well, today's the last day. I'm sure I'll say 2017 a few more times, but you get the idea. Last night, it really hammered it home that it's not practical for me to have enough batteries in the truck to be able to run an electric heater just to keep warm. But what I'm looking at is I'm going to use, okay, here's the fan I'm going to use. This was what was already sitting here. So, decent fan, pulls 0.37 amps at 12 volts at full speed. PWM, pulse width modulation. This is officially a dimmer, but it does work with the fan. This is what I used earlier, so I know it works. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to build the fan onto the heater. When I'm in the truck, I can plug it into the truck battery. When I'm in here, I could run a cable up to the main battery bank, or I could plug it into a little lithium battery. Also, I noticed that the heater has a mounting bracket on the back, so if you had screws in the right spot, you could just hang the heater on the wall, which is pretty slick. The reason I'm building this is the bubble wrap insulation that's in the truck. The whole truck is obviously very small, and there's a lot of, you got infrared coming off the front of the heater, which makes it feel warm, right? You know, you feel that right away hitting you. But it also has air that circulates kind of through the heater just by natural convection. It doesn't have a fan in it. But the convection coming off of through the heater gives off a lot of additional heat, which then heats up the room for you. Now, that would normally be fine in the bus. There's no problem at all. You can be really close. The back of the heater is basically cold. You don't feel like you're touching a hot thing except for the very front of the heater, which is obvious. So you could put it right up against the wall and be fine. The problem is in the truck, the roof slopes in, and I'm putting the heater right here, and that bubble wrap insulation is plastic. And all that warm air coming off the top, I put my hand on there and it feels very hot within a minute or two. So I'm really concerned about how much heat can that bubble wrap take before it starts to melt or catch on fire. That would be bad. So what I'm going to do is build kind of a clamshell around it and put a fan in the bottom behind, so if the heater's here, put the clamshell coming up over the side of it, or basically from the behind over the top, and then have fan blowing air in that will blow across and push the air towards where I am on the bed and keep the heat from hitting the ceiling directly. In my testing last night and the night before, I have an electric heater out there that has a fan only setting. And when I experimented with that, I just had it blowing sideways across the top of the heater to keep that hot air from hitting the ceiling directly. It was just blowing it away. Having a fan blowing sideways in a small confined space, the air was moving around, and you did feel the air on the opposite side warming up. So, you know, it seemed to work. So that's the working operation plan anyway, so that didn't make any sense. Cool, let's go build it. I'll show you later. We got our heater, propane powered, Mr. Heater Portable Buddy. The problem is the insulation inside my camper shell is foil over bubble wrap. The majority of the heat comes off the front, off of this white surface. That's what turns red when it's going. I also get a lot of air, hot air coming through these vents on top. Dirty. And where this sits, it's very close to the ceiling and the wall, and so the heat coming off the back through the vents is really getting that plastic warm quickly. So my plan is to take bus seat parts and make a simple come up, come over, around, kind of a clamshell shape. I can pick up these two mounting holes. I know if I come up 16 inches and then do about a 45-degree bend and come out 8 inches, that's about the shape I want. When you do your bus conversion, if at all possible, do not throw away the bus seats. There's a lot of valuable metal here, so that's what we're going to do. In case there was any doubt, this is a real bus seat. There's gum on this. We'll approximate. The important thing is that they're about the same angle. Okay. So what I did is I cut a slot into two sides of the U, but left the flat part. What I want, okay, this will actually work. Hey, how about that? Almost 45 hour. Yeah, something like that. Alright, so the plan is, got the generator, got the MIG welder, and I'm using my back door step as my welding table. I'm setting up my magnetic clamps, and I know none of my cuts are exactly straight, but nothing's really lining up really good. So I brought out my framing square, and I've got a speed square. Also I got some clamps. I'm going to clamp the first piece down so it doesn't wiggle on me, and then build from there. When that's ready, and we put on the party hat and we get down to it, I'm going to get everything clamped and ready, and then I'm going to start the generator and then just go straight into it. Some of the welds I finished, just to see. There we go. And there was a couple of really nasty gaps, so I just was kind of playing around to see if I could fill them, and I eventually did. Because I'm welding such thin gauge, I just left these gloves on. I could feel a little bit of heat sometimes, but it never felt like I was burning. So good to know. That means I don't have to wear these all the time. So next I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup with the grinder just for my own amusement. So the idea is these little standouts here. Yeah, that'll work. That's what these are for, just to keep it in line with that. So what I will do is find those holes, boink and boink. What I kind of want to do is put nuts on the inside here, so I can tighten it. I think that's a good idea. Basically, it's where I want it, so that part's good. I might smooth out the edges here because that's where it's going to hit, but it never is going to be on a smooth surface anyway, as far as what I care about. And I already checked it once in the camper, and I'm basically where I want it to be. Yeah, might be time for a new wheel. A little bit over bend. Okay, so what I've got is I marked out where the fan is going to go. Drew a nice circle, already drilled the holes. I think somewhere I do have rotary files and whatnot for cutting metal. I'm not really sure right now where they are. That's actually quite good. Ta-da! Okay, yeah, it ain't pretty. Moving on. Alright, so the plan is I'm going to use 1024. I'm going to run the screws through from this side. This is going to sit up like so. I'm going to put the fan on the back side to give it a little more room. So I'm going to drill out the holes a little bit bigger. Also got to drill the holes in the fan, and I got to figure out which way the fan blows. And I got a drill bit just slightly big, so that'd give me a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, it's either label towards me or label away from me. I don't need gloves for this unless it chops me in the finger, then I wish I had my gloves on again. The white wire on this one is for a speed sensor, which we're not using. That would be pretty slick to have it. And let's see, positive is that one. It's really not visible, but it's there. So, in the time-honored tradition of jamming wires in a hole. In. It's windy outside. I'm actually having a hard time deciding which way that's blowing, ironically. Fingers not in the hole. Okay, fan blows towards the label. Alright. So that means I want to drill these ones out. Stop. I'm not even sure if that's going to touch or anything. Alright, 4 matching screws. It's one of those little pleasures in life, is having some kind of an organized pile of hardware. For a long time now, anytime I go buy something, I make sure to get extras. So I don't just buy one screw. You know, you can buy them individually. I get the 50 pack if I can. Anti-vibration star washers might be a good idea. Since I don't have locking nuts, I don't think. In the correct size. Yeah, if I was clever, I would probably have the right size of wrench to grab this with, but that's not going to bother me right now. The other side of being organized is knowing you have something, but not remembering where exactly it is. Okay, that part's good. I usually use 1/4 by 20, so it's always a 7/16 wrench or socket. That helps. Yeah, I'm going to space it. Put 2 washers, fender washers under it on each side, and then the nut will be on the inside, which is a bit awkward to reach. And we'll use a lock nut on that so it doesn't back off. And I don't really need to get fancy here. Oh, and then the other part of it, that's what I needed these for. Of course, that will not work. These bolts are a little bit too long. However, these will work. Cool. Alright. Those, how much too long is that? That'll work. Okay. Here we go. So I'll take 2 of these for spacers in between, because this is a little bit thicker than this. I didn't realize that at the time. Could have made those smaller if I would have thought about it. Spacers. This part's a little bit fiddly too. Started that, that's good. Alright. Advanced tools here. Needle nose vice grips. I do know that somewhere I do have the right size wrench. I just don't have time right now to be looking for it. Okay, now keeping in mind we're up against a piece of plastic, we don't need to kill that. Get my head out of the shot. Yeah, I know this makes me feel dirty using vice grips like this, but what are you gonna do? So, in operation, the fan will just blow air from behind out the front, catch the air that's coming out of these vents on here and just push it out. That way my bubble wrap, which is behind here, has got a pretty good air gap, so I shouldn't have to worry about that now. I can reach in and pick it up this way, which is probably the easiest, but I can also use this handle on the top. And it actually balances pretty good from there. Beauty shots, there will not be beauty shots in this. I did take a couple minutes and clean up some of the welds a little bit. This is probably not going to go on my resume. Just like that. I do think that adding these blocks here was a good idea. That it kind of keeps it in line and straight. So, and I haven't modified the original device at all, so if I choose to, I can just take out 2 bolts and the whole thing comes off. Don't have any trouble changing tanks. So, there you go. Okay, so here we are ready to test. I got temporary wires hooked up, and that's going to a speed controller, which is PWM, and that's coming off of a 12-volt Bosch lithium battery pack. Alright, same one I use on my drills and stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to light this first, like normal. Okay, get the pilot going, and then push down a little bit and turn it to low. It always is fun. It'll flash a couple times at you and then it'll get going. Now this was something I totally forgot to even consider. Is the air blowing from the back going to be a factor at all? I'm going to let that stabilize first. Okay, stable burn. Just starting to get red. Okay. Now, this is already hooked up. I just got it turned all the way to off. So as I twist it, you'll see the fan start to turn. Okay. Oh, I can feel air blowing towards me already. This will be very cool. Okay, that's maximum blow. I didn't see the flame flicker or anything. And I can totally feel the air blowing towards me. One of the things I'm going to keep an eye on is this handle going to get hot? And is the deflector going to get hot at all? Alright, so let's slow that down. I don't need nearly that much. I think the slower it is, the warmer the air will feel. That makes sense. And that's why I wanted to put a speed controller on there, because you don't need massive flow coming off of that. It's totally cold back here, so that part's good. One of the issues is that fan will sing. Get the wrong speed, that's not too bad. Okay, the back of this is still cold to the touch. I mean, it's cold enough in here that everything is cold back here. Even on the front side, all of this is still ice cold. Alright. Next test, I'm going to shut the fan off. And I'm going to move some of my stuff out of the way here. Just realized I got a complete gaggle of wires sitting up here. Get that out of the way. I'm going to let this thing run and just see how warm the metal gets without a fan going. Which means I need to get the wires out of the way so I don't catch them on. And the wires probably won't burn, but also, yeah, this heater always stays cold to the touch on the outside. It's just, really the red part that gets warm. So what I want to do is get an idea of basically, is this going to get too warm to want to pick it up? Okay, without the fan, the metal is getting warm already. Okay. But by design, I won't say on purpose, but by design, oh, wrong one, okay. It's got a pretty good natural air gap already. Like 1/2 inch to 1 inch here. So anything that gets against it won't get up against the hotter part of it. It's going for 7 minutes now. Alright. Handle is definitely warm to the touch. The metal is warm to the touch. I'm going to turn the fan back on just slow, see if it cools it down. What I'm curious about is how effective it will be as a heater now in circulating the air. That's really the biggest thing, is if I have that fan blowing and the size of the truck camper, it's going to blow air everywhere. So what I'm wondering is, at a fairly low setting, how much air do I get flowing, how quickly does it feel like it's going to warm up, that kind of thing. But overall, I'm going to run a temporary wiring for tonight off of, I'll take a couple lithium batteries out there. I don't think I need more than one. But they make a nice simple way to test something without running the other battery dead. Okay, with the fan going, the metal doesn't get hot. It gets quite cool. I'm getting air flowing off of it, so that's... I think it's working. Oh, yeah, so here we are. It's about 35 degrees right now. I think it got down into the 20s last night. My telephone, even though it's on airplane mode, it does seem to get weather updates. I'm not sure how that's possible. Unless it's just guessing. Because I know the phone itself doesn't have any weather sensors on it. At least not that I know of. That would be kind of nice. But the phone thought it was about 26 last night. So yeah, that was pretty cold. So it's officially the coldest day of the year, but it is January 1st, so it's also the hottest day of the year. It's the happiest day of the year. Happy New Year! So yeah, about 35 degrees. Oh, water in here didn't seem to freeze. Except this thing. And I think it may have something to do with the fact it's pressurized. So it's got definite ice in there. Which is kind of cool looking. It's more slushy than frozen solid. Yeah. Anyway. Oatmeal is cooked. My little propane heater mod. Oh my god, that worked awesome last night. I got to the point I just shut it off. It was getting so comfortable in there that I was scared I was going to fall asleep with the heater running, but it never got the ceiling hot. So that's totally a success. So now that I know that, I'm going to go ahead and finish wiring it. I just kind of hacked the wires together just to get it to work. But yeah, it totally works fine. Oatmeal is cooked. I think I will just hold this for a minute. My fingers are freaking cold. So let's see. Inverter's on. The little coffee pot's just about done brewing. What should we talk about? Happy New Year's. Oh, no, it's in here. Okay, good. I was like, man, I forgot my phone out there. Yeah, heater good. It's gonna take a while to warm up in here. I think once the sun gets a little higher, it will warm up inside at least. That usually is the case, but it's a losing battle in a school bus. You just don't have enough wall thickness. You got too many windows. You just really can't survive in here in the winter. Not the way it is. I could film the windows. Something we have up in Canada. It's probably available down here. I haven't even looked yet. But you take some double-sided tape, draw a perimeter around the window with the tape. Then you put this clear film over the window, stick it down, and then you hit it with a hairdryer, and it stretches it nice and tight, and it works really well. And it gives you basically the effect of a double pane window, which on the school bus would be fantastic because it would stop the air that blows through the windows. Now I still have the front door that sucks. The back door, I could tape that because it's actually essentially an open screen with a piece of OSB flapping in the breeze back there. But a couple of days ago it was like 80 degrees in here, so I didn't want, I had the windows open a couple of days ago, so I don't, I'm not really, in the tundra where it's going to stay minus 40 for the next 6 months. So I'm not quite there yet. that would be easier to plan for. You just deal with the cold, but now you got to be able to, you know, open the window again. So it's more complicated. Coffee's ready. Heck yeah. First coffee, solar powered coffee coming up. I love that this little coffee maker doesn't kill my solar power batteries right now. Now I can make my 2 cups. And oh, it's shivering a lot less. It's feeling pretty good in here already. Yeah, I didn't completely just kill my batteries, so. Thermometer came up 5 degrees. It's a good sign. 40 degrees. You won't die in 40, will you? Hope not. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it was so hot this year. Like I guess it always is. Even a couple of days ago it warmed up during the day, and then yesterday it just didn't really warm up. And I'm like, uh-oh, yeah, you know. I was totally comfortable in the truck though last night. Ran the heat for a little bit and then crawled in the sleeping bag, and no big deal. The 12-volt lithium 3-cell battery, the Bosch Light battery, lasted for at least 3 hours of use. So that was fine.